Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Good day everyone. I am Zohara A. Dizon, your assigned reporter of Natural Order Theory. This is our objectives. At the end of the lesson, the participants are able to define the natural order theory, identify the different stages of second language acquisition, and create a classroom activities using natural approach. Natural order theory was developed by two theorists. The first is Stephen Krashen. He is a professor at University of Southern California. He became a linguist and an educational researcher. He is well known for his contribution to second language acquisition theories and has published more than 350 papers and books. The second is Tracy Terrell. She is an educational theorist and a professor at University of California. She taught Spanish and wished to apply naturalistic principles in second language acquisition. According to Stephen Krashen, acquisition requires meaningful interaction in the target language. Natural communication, in which speakers are concerned not with the form of their utterances, but with the messages they are conveying and understand. Krashen's believe that in language acquisition, the learners require meaningful interaction in the target language or using the target language in the natural communication or through natural communication and does not require a lot of grammar analysis. Also, according to Stephen Krashen, language acquisition does not require extensive use of conscious grammatical rules and does not require tedious drill. It means in language acquisition, the learner doesn't need a lot of grammatical analysis and a lot of grammatical structure, and also a lot of exercises and drill about grammatical structures. According to Stephen Krashen, there are 5 theories of second language acquisition: the acquisition learning hypothesis, the monitor hypothesis, the natural order hypothesis, the input hypothesis, and the affective filter hypothesis. The natural approach. This is also the natural order hypothesis or theory. It was developed and published as a book by Mr. Stephen Krashen and Mrs. Tracy Terrell in 1983. It was based on the second language acquisition theory developed by Krashen. Krashen and Terrell see communication as the primary function of the language. Thus, this approach focuses on teaching communicative abilities. This approach is based on the use of language in communicative situations without recourse to the native language and without reference to grammatical analysis, drill, or any particular grammar theory. Meaning, Krashen and Terrell believe that a language is the primary function of communication. Thus, this approach focuses in using the target language in communicative situation. And this approach doesn't have a basis in the native language and doesn't require a lot of grammatical analysis. And language is viewed as a vehicle for communicating meanings and messages. Natural order hypothesis. Natural order hypothesis suggests that the acquisition of grammatical structure follows a natural order which is predictable. So according to natural order hypothesis, the learners learn the grammatical structure predictable. It is predictable. For any given language, certain grammatical structure are acquired early while others are acquired later in the process. So the grammatical structure, there are grammatical structure that learn first and the other grammar structure will be learned learn later. It is also believed that the errors are signs of naturalistic developmental processes. This order is independent of the learner's mother tongue, age, and setting. It means it doesn't have a basis on the learner's mother tongue, age, and setting. The natural order can be found in first language acquisition as well as in second language acquisition. So it can be found, the natural order. It can be found in first language acquisition and also in second language acquisition. Example given, the learner acquires the progressive ing, plural S form, and an active voice before the third person S or a passive voice. So there is an order in acquiring a language, a grammatical structure. So this is the natural order hypothesis. It is the combination of the curriculum and the second language acquisition theory. The teacher will be going to make a curriculum based on the second language acquisition theory. And it will be used to the learning process that is focused on the spoken production. Because in natural order hypothesis, the target language will be used in communication process or in communication situation. So this is the average order of acquisition of grammatical morphemes for English as a second language for children and adults. So this is applicable for children and adults. So this is the order of acquiring the grammar structure according to natural order theory. The first that the learner will learn is the ing progressive plural. The swimming, dancing, cooking, the ing form of the plural, and also the copula to be. So that is the first grammatical rule or structure that the learner will learn. And then the second is the auxiliary progressive, as in he is going. The auxiliary progressive, he is going. And then the article a and the article da. And then the next is the irregular past tense, the irregular past tense form of the verb. And then the regular past tense, the third person singular s, runs, he runs. And then the possessive s form. So this is the order of acquiring a grammatical structure. This is the order according to the natural order theory. So there are 5 stages of second language acquisition. The first is the silent or the receptive. This stage may last from several hours to several months, depending on the individual learner. During this time, new language learners typically spend the learning vocabulary and practice pronouncing new words. So this is the beginning. The learner will practice pronouncing the new words. While they may engage in self-talk, they don't normally speak the language with any fluency or real understanding. So the second is the early production. This stage may last about 6 months, during which language learner typically acquire an understanding of up to 1,000 words. They may also learn to speak some words and begin forming short phrases, even though they may not be grammatically correct. Third is the speech emergence. This stage, learner typically acquire a vocabulary of up to 3,000 words and learn to communicate by putting the words in short phrases, sentences, and questions. Again, they may not be grammatically correct, but this is an important stage during which learners gain greater comprehension and begin reading and writing in their second language. Fourth is the intermediate fluency. At this stage, which may last for a year or more after speech emergence, learners typically have a vocabulary of as many as 6,000 words. They usually acquire the ability to communicate in writing and speech using more complex sentences. So they are in this stage, they are able to use complex sentences. This crucial stage is also when learners begin actually thinking in their second language, which help them gain more proficiency in speaking it. Number 5 is the continued language development or the advanced fluency. It takes more learners at least 2 years to reach this stage, and then up to 10 years to achieve full mastery of the second language in all its complexities and nuances. Second language learners need ongoing opportunities to engage in discussion and express themselves in their new language in order to maintain fluency in it. So these are the sample teacher prompts for each stage of second language acquisition. The first stage or the silent stage, also known as pre-production stage. The student has minimal comprehension. Minimal comprehension does not verbalize but nod yes and no, draws and point. So approximately this is 0 to 6 months of learning the language and can answer show me, circle D, where is, who has, and then the early production. The student has limited comprehension. Limited comprehension produces 1 or 2 word responses, so can produce response. 1 or 2 word. Use keywords and familiar phrases. Can use keywords and phrase. Use present tense verbs. Can use the present tense of a verb. 6 months to 1 year of learning the language can answer the yes or no question, either or question, who, what, and how many. Speech emergence, the student has good comprehension, can produce simple sentences, make grammar and pronunciation errors, frequently misunderstand joke. 1 to 3 years of learning the language, can answer the how, why, can explain, can answer the question requiring phrase or short sentence answers, so can use a phrase and a short sentence. Intermediate fluency, the student has excellent comprehension, so make few grammatical errors, so only few grammatical errors. So approximately 3 to 5 years of learning the language, can answer what would happen if, why do you think, question requires more than a sentence response. So advanced fluency, the student has a near native level of speech, so has a near native, can speak the language can speak the target language that are near to the native speaker. It is approximately 5 to 7 years of studying the language or learning the language, can decide if or retell. So in classroom setting, using the natural order theory, the teacher can use the total physical response or the TPR. This is a language teaching method built around the coordination of speech and action. It attempts to teach language through physical motor activity. It is developed by James Asser, a professor of psychology at San Jose State University, California. So the teacher can use this total physical response inside the classroom if the teacher used the natural order theory. So this is the activities that are belong to the total physical response. The storytelling, drama session, role play, treasure hunt with a twist. So the teacher will be going to use the target language and these activities so that the teacher can use the total physical response that is advisable to use in natural order theory. So these are my references. And that is the end of my report.